following program contains mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
So we have another crazy loony leftist attempting to run over ICE agents in Maine for some reason. So here's like a first video. And I think this is the car that they used, and I don't know if I have it in a tab, but there's a close-up of this car that shows all 3 bullet holes are directly front of the car. So you know exactly where that cop was fucking standing. Or I guess ICE agent, not cop. Why is it always Maine now? Because if you haven't been paying attention, Maine is basically the same as Minnesota, in that they are, like, little Somalia with a whole bunch of fucking crazy leftists who want to protect their diversity and all of the fraud going on in the state. What a shock. Trying to run someone over is considered a crime. I made, like, 1 tweet on this when I had no idea what had happened. The tweet was just, like, them reporting that someone had been run over, and they were like, just like the unlawful shooting of Renee Good, and I was like, this is how you know they're lying. The Renee Good shooting was not unlawful. You don't get to run over the federal agents with your car. I can't keep making Terry Davis jokes. It's going to get old. But, like, everyone's response, right? Everyone who's crazy and on the left, their response to my tweet was, oh, so you don't trust the government when it's convenient, but you just believe them wholesale when they say what happened. And it's like, I'm not trusting the government when they tell me what happened. I can see the video footage of Renee Good trying to hit the officer, successfully hitting the officer, and getting shot for it. I can see that on video. That's not trusting the government. That's trusting my fucking eyeballs, bro. Like, holy shit. And if the guy who was reporting on this was equating this shooting to the Renee Good shooting, I know by having eyeballs that that guy is lying. Like, there's 0 chance that he's not lying if that is the direction he's going in. Unfortunately, this has already had negative consequences for ICE's effectiveness. DHS said that they're going to allow ICE to perform traffic stops, or they aren't going to allow ICE to perform traffic stops. See, that's bad. Do not give in to the terrorists. They're all too happy to martyr themselves because they know that they'll become a big deal. I've been saying this since the Renee Good thing, is that more and more of these leftists are going to try and become martyrs. They care about the cause more than their own lives, and it's insane. Like, you could not ask for better foot soldiers to throw themselves into the meat grinder for your ideology. This is what happens when you have years of enabling these freaks. Abso-fucking-lutely. Absolutely. Maine AG announced a state investigation into the fatal ICE shooting in Biddeford. The Maine Attorney General's office is investigating the fatal shooting of a 26-year-old Colombian man by the federal immigration agents Monday morning in Biddeford. The immigration agent who shot the man will be put on leave, according to a statement released by the office. The agent was conducting an enforcement operation related to a final order of removal when the subject attempted to flee in a vehicle in the direction of the officer and was fatally shot. It is standard protocol in police-involved shootings for officers to be placed on leave. Several law enforcement agencies are assisting with the investigation, including federal authorities and local police departments from Biddeford and Saco, according to a statement on Monday. The Attorney General's office will remain on the scene to continue its investigation, and the man who was shot will not be named until positive identification is made and family members are notified. The Maine Immigrants' Rights Coalition and Presente Maine identified him as 26-year-old from Colombia, who was authorized to work in the United States and had been issued a social security number. The Attorney General's office had advised the public to contact their local law enforcement agency should they have any information they would feel be helpful for the investigation. Now, I've got some questions. If he's here illegally, how is he authorized to work in the US? He had a final order of removal. How did he get issued a social security number? How did he get issued one of these? Is this just issuing him a number so that he can take advantage of benefits, since he is not supposed to be here? The Attorney General's office has advised public to contact their local law enforcement agency should they have any information they feel would be helpful. We also understand this is a matter of significant public interest, and while we still strive for meaningful transparency and accountability, our primary focus in this moment is on a complete, thorough investigation. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin told independent U.S. Senator Angus King on Monday that the man was in a vehicle, pulled out in the vehicle, and, in the secretary's words, weaponized the vehicle before being shot by an ICE agent, King said in a statement. DHS has alleged the weaponization of vehicles in several immigration agent shootings, including one earlier this month where agents shot and killed 52-year-old Lorenzo Arajo in Houston. Is this the guy that had been living here for like 35 years illegally and had a nicer home than any Zoomer will ever be able to afford? Is that one? Yes? Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Turns out you can't hit cops with your car. Shocking! Aside from the Biddeford incident, there have been at least 21 shootings, 10 of them fatal, involving immigration agents during President Donald Trump's second term. There shouldn't be any shootings, but leftist politicians continuously encourage their constituents to do these kinds of things. The Maine Immigrants' Rights Coalition, Presente Maine, public officials, and other protesters on Monday called for an investigation independent of the federal government. There appears to be no video footage of the shooting. Apparently, there are no cameras, King said in a statement. Body cameras were not on the agents, so we have no video evidence of what occurred in this case. And see, this is bad. If true, this is bad. All of these agents should be wearing cameras. Every single fucking one of them. It's not just for the safety of the people, it's for the safety of the officers when they get dragged through the dirt by liars. Video shows federal agents pulling man from car after fatal Biddeford shooting. Video captured by a witness shows federal agents pulling a limp man from a car and shackling his wrists moments after a fatal shooting Monday morning. Where's the rest of that video? I doubt this person started recording after the shooting, so where's the rest of that fucking video? Video was captured by a witness showing federal agents pulling a limp man from a car and shackling his wrists moments after a fatal shooting Monday morning. The witness said agents wearing green police vests were pursuing the white sedan when they used their SUV to hit its passenger side, bringing it to a stop and surrounding it with their guns drawn. When the driver did not comply with commands to exit the car, they fired gunshots at the vehicle. I have a question. When did we go from like watching a TV show a la Cops and like cheering on the cops arresting the bad guys who send them on chases to like so many people being like, no, you can't arrest this man. His skin color means I care more about him and his criminal record than you. It's so weird. It's so weird. The video appears to show the aftermath of a shooting that rapidly drew attention early Monday morning when a Biddeford lawmaker posted to social media that immigration and customs enforcement officers had been involved in a shooting in the middle of the city at the corner of Poole and Hill Streets. Protesters and Democratic political candidates rallied at Mechanics Park after the shooting. Came days after ICE officers killed a man in Texas on the heels of the federal government's immigration enforcement surge into Maine earlier this year and during the middle of a furious nominating race to find a candidate to run against Republican U.S. Senator Susan Collins. I don't think anybody actually likes Collins in Maine. Why is it bad to enforce the law? Because we shouldn't have laws and shit unless those laws are putting Trump supporters into re-education camps. Officials have not yet identified the shooting victim, but in a joint statement, the Maine Immigrants' Rights Coalition and Presente Maine said he was a 26-year-old from Colombia who had authorization to work in the U.S. and had been issued a social security number. Attorney General Ron Frey's office confirmed that an ICE officer was the shooter. The man who died may have been under orders to leave the country, Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin told U.S. Senator Angus King. According to the Maine Independent's office, King said that the federal agents weren't wearing any body cameras. They should have been. They should have been. And it would be absolutely crazy if it was correct that they were actually out there to issue enforcement on a final order of deportation on another dude and then happened to fire into another dude who shouldn't have been here. That's crazy. Ooh. Residents in the neighborhood just off the city's downtown heard 6 gunshots at 7:17 a.m. according to audio from a Ring camera in a nearby apartment building, shared with the Bangor Daily News. Soon after, the streets surrounding Poole and Hill Streets were blocked off by caution tape as law enforcement swarmed the area and social media lit up with chatter and immigration agents may have killed a man. It's also like it's not real to see it with my own eyes, said Jessica Alfreds, who captured the audio of the gunshots on her Ring camera. Soon after, she ran to her second-floor window and watched 3 men in green vests running down the street. The witness who saw and then filmed agents pulling the man from the sedan declined to be named, given the sensitivity of the matter, but provided an account of what she saw from her Poole Street residence. The BDN obtained a copy of the video from a neighbor. She had just stepped onto her porch for her morning cigarette when she heard the squealing of tires and then a white SUV driving down the street. A white SUV was following it and then brought to a stop by making a wide turn and hitting the car's passenger side. Officers were wearing green vests with the word police in yellow surrounded the car, and with their firearms raised, she said, they yelled for the driver to get out of the car with their hands up. She said she heard officers yell weapons several times before firing at the car. The woman started to record as an officer stood at the open driver's side door of the sedan and pulled a man with dark skin, pale t-shirt, and dark pants from the cab and onto the pavement, chest side down. A second officer then appears to help the first tie the man's hands behind his back. A third officer talks on a cell phone in the background, the video shows. The witness said that one officer had walked away after the shooting and started to cry, but returned to the man and started administering CPR when the other officer said he has a pulse. EMS arrived a few minutes later. She estimated they attempted to resuscitate him a few more minutes. Around that point, she assumed from their behavior that the man had died. She initially shared it on social media before taking it down because of its upsetting nature. She was like, "I'm gonna get them up, dudes!" Wait a minute. About an hour later, just before 8:30 a.m., Maine House Speaker Ryan Fecteau, a Democrat in Biddeford, posted on social media that a person had been killed and ICE was involved. By mid-morning, residents and members of the press had gathered in the hot sun around the caution tape that cordoned off the blocks surrounding the intersection of Poole and Hill Streets. In a statement, Governor Janet Mills said that she has been briefed about the Biddeford shooting, saying it involved federal law enforcement. A spokesperson for the FBI Boston field office said the agency responded immediately after the shooting, but provided no other details. Officials have not yet identified the shooting victim, but in a joint statement, Maine Immigrants' Rights Coalition and Presente Maine said he was a 26-year-old from Colombia. One man who declined to be quoted had said that he heard that a Spanish-speaking man had been shot by immigration agents. The man was in the area to provide interpreter services and said he doubted that the local resident who told him that would want to speak to a reporter. Many immigrants are afraid to draw any attention to themselves right now. Monday morning shooting is at least the 11th fatal shooting involving ICE or U.S. Border Patrol agents since the beginning of the second administration of President Donald Trump. It's interesting how quickly protesters mobilized. Yep, gotta defend the criminals, baby. Interpreter services. Why are those interpreter services needed? Whomstead is he helping? Battleizer, thank you. Bitch, I'm from the government. I'm not here to help. True and fucking real. Illegals are actually scared of being deported. Wow, how refreshing. They should be scared of being deported because that's what should happen if you come here illegally. Like, what the fuck? Here is other footage. Video footage has emerged of ICE agents pulling the body of a male suspect out of a car in Maine. ICE agents shot the suspect after he allegedly tried to run over ICE agents with the car. It appears that the suspect was a dark-skinned male in a white Kia. Homeland Security putting out a statement. On July 13th, 2026, at approximately 7 a.m., ICE was conducting targeted surveillance on the last known address of an illegal alien with a final order of removal. An illegal alien departed the residence in a vehicle. ICE law enforcement attempted to conduct a vehicle stop. The vehicle attempted to flee the scene, and fearing for public safety, an officer discharged his weapon. The driver of the vehicle was stuck, and emergency services were immediately contacted. He passed away from his injuries. The Biddeford Police Department and the FBI responded to the scene. DHS OIG has been notified, and like all discharge of firearms, this will be investigated. This is a developing situation, and we will update the public when more information is available. I hope that one of these people filming actually has the full video footage. ICE agents should not be out doing any kind of immigration enforcement without body cams at a bare minimum. They should have dash cams and body cams, but they should at bare minimum have body cams to be doing any of this. Otherwise, it's just going to become a quagmire of lying and no one will know the truth. I have a feeling that it's probably the case that this guy tried to hit the officer with his vehicle based on where the bullet holes are, based on the other people who have tried to hit officers with their vehicles. That seems to check out, but I would very much like to see the actual proof before, like, 100% going in on one stance, right? And, like, you even have someone down here saying lies. The man executed, the man you say an illegal alien departed in a vehicle, was not here illegally. Your boys appeared to pull his dead body out and handcuff him. The videos show it. Stop lying and stop killing people. Deport violent non-citizens. Okay, they say he had a work authorization. That does not mean he was authorized to be here. And just because he had a social security number does not mean that social security number was even gotten through legitimate means. There are plenty of illegals who steal social security numbers as well. We don't have that information. This is AP reporting here. This looks like a different angle of the video. So there's the car. The trees obscure our vision. He's just doing donuts in the intersection. All right, boy. The fuck is happening? Okay. There's the vehicle stopping him. There's the officers surrounding the vehicle to carry out enforcement action. Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. When did he even shoot? What? What? It doesn't show, like, he just walks around the front. It doesn't even show him lifting his rifle. But that doesn't make any sense. Because the bullet holes are on the front of the vehicle. The bullet holes are on the front of the vehicle, but you see him just, like, walk past it, and he doesn't even lift his rifle. What the fuck? He was shot earlier. He crashed out in the car. That's after the shots. What the fuck? Because the bullet holes are on the windshield is what I saw in a picture. Shooting is before the footage? Well, that also doesn't make any sense. I mean, I guess maybe it makes sense if, like, while he was swimming around in circles, they were trying to surround... I don't know. This is not great footage, but that's strange. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent fatally shot a motorist in Maine on Monday. Second time in a week that ICE has used deadly force and at least the 9th death since President Donald Trump began his immigration crackdown. Yeah, maybe stop trying to hit ICE agents with your car and you won't get shot. Hot tip. Immigrant rights groups identified the man who was killed in Biddeford as a 26-year-old native of Colombia. Colombian embassy said it was in contact with U.S. authorities. Prior to the brief ICE statement, we already read all of this. The agents didn't have body cameras. When asked about the contrasting statements, King told CNN that's what the investigation is all about. Contrasting statements, hold on. Did this young man actually try to run over an ICE agent, or was he in danger of running over other people in the street? It was semantics. Was there a reasonable expectation of bodily harm or deadly force to justify the shooting? DHS did not immediately respond to email seeking clarity on what led to the shooting. King, an independent, said Mullen also told him the officers were in Biddeford to serve an arrest warrant, but it was not for the person who was shot. Okay, so that is true. Damn, there's so many illegals in this country that while you're trying to arrest one illegal, another illegal will try to hit you with their car and you'll shoot that one. That's fucking crazy. It is true. King said Mullen told him that earlier information that the man was the target of an enforcement action was incorrect. The Maine Attorney General's office, which is also investigating, said initial statements suggest the motorist was trying to flee in the direction of the agent. The office said the agent who killed him has been placed on leave. Danielle Boucher said that he looked out his third-floor window after hearing a pop, pop, pop sound and saw a small car turned 90 degrees to the curb with an SUV behind it. The driver was wounded, and the car started moving down the street until the SUV hit it. His face was bloody, his head was bloody, Boucher said, getting choked up. I clearly heard the victim say, I tried to stop. Daniel Boucher said he looked out his third-floor window after hearing pops. I clearly heard the victim say, I tried to stop. Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe you heard a man who got into a car crash and was also shot was loud enough to hear from a third-floor window. This guy's a fucking piece of work. Yeah, with lungs full of blood. Yeah, bullshit, dude. Boucher said he saw an ICE officer bring a medical bag to where the man was lying before an ambulance and fire truck arrived. At one point, Boucher said, the agent who shot the man walked close to him. I was emotional and I just let him have it, and he looked at me and said he tried to run me over or something to that effect. Boucher said, I don't remember his exact words. This guy's not making any sense. He looked out his third-floor window. He heard the guy saying, I tried to stop. He watched the ICE officer bring a medical bag to where the man was lying. And at one point, Boucher said the agent who shot the man walked close to him. At what point did you go down to the ground, Boucher? At what point did you leave your balcony and go down to the ground scene? You left that part out. You let that part out. And like, yeah, the ICE agent is completely justified if he said that. He tried to run me over. What are we fucking doing? I don't remember the ICE agent's exact words, but I do remember from my third-floor window, I heard the man with lungs full of blood saying, I tried to stop. This guy's just missing the dinosaurs. This dude's story has bigger holes in it than the Titanic. Keep in mind, the guy got shot in the head. He wasn't saying anything. Jesus Christ. Video from a security camera at a nearby business obtained by the AP shows a white vehicle approaching an intersection at a modest speed before making several slow circles. A law enforcement SUV blocked its path and 2 officers opened the driver's door and dragged out a limp body. It was not clear from the video at what point the shots were fired. 2 advocacy groups, the Maine Immigrants' Rights Coalition and Presente, said the man who was killed was authorized to work in the U.S. After the shooting, his family contacted the Immigrant Rights Coalition, but they weren't ready to speak publicly about the shooting, said the group's executive director, Mufalo Chitam. Mary Hayes, who lives close to where the shooting happened, said the man lived nearby with his wife and daughter. Hot take, I don't think an Immigrants' Rights Coalition should exist. I don't think that's something we should have in our country anymore. I watched a wife fall to her knees looking at her husband's dead body on the ground. Hayes told the AP as she held a piece of cardboard with "No ice, stop ice" written on it. I watched a little girl crying with a little pink backpack on it because she's never going to see her father again. They could have self-deported and avoided all of this. Sadie D-Boy said the man killed in the shooting regularly came to her laundromat and would bring his daughter, who he'd give quarters to buy candy from the vending machine. He was such a good person, she said. He was always cleaning up. Oh no! Oh no! The tears burn the Constitution! Don't enforce our laws anymore! Several hundred demonstrators gathered in Biddeford on Monday night to wave anti-ICE signs and call for the agency to be abolished. We will always be a city of immigrants, said Maine Speaker of the House Ryan Fecteau, a Democrat from Biddeford. Biddeford, Maine. Racial statistics. Biddeford, Maine has a population of approximately 22,550 residents and is predominantly white, though the city is gradually diversifying. Recent demographic data indicates that the racial and ethnic makeup of the city is approximately 92% white, with growing minority groups including multiracial individuals, Asians, and Black or African American residents. Demographic breakdown is 92% white, 2 or more races, 2 to 3%, Asian, 1 to 2%, Black or African American, about 1%, and less than 1% Native American, Hispanic or Latino, 2 to 3%. All right, always been a town. All right, Biddeford, Maine, racial statistics, 1990. In 1990, Biddeford, Maine had a total population of 20,715 residents. The racial demographics of the city were overwhelmingly homogenous, with the vast majority of residents identifying as Caucasian. The exact 1990 U.S. Census Bureau data for Biddeford's racial breakdown included 96.60% white, 0.81% Asian, 0.38% Black or African American, 0.17% Native American, and 2.04% other races. Okay, Biddeford, Maine. When was it founded? Biddeford's origin spans several key dates. It was first explored by Europeans in 1616 and permanently settled in 1630. It was incorporated as the town of Saco in 1653, renamed and reincorporated as the town of Biddeford in 1718, and officially chartered as a city in 1855. I would be willing to bet that 100% of that city was white at that point in time. Nate, what do you mean by this? What do you mean? What do you mean? We will always be a city of immigrants. This fucking retard. You can be smarter than a politician with a simple Google search. Good lord. It's interesting to see them denounce enforcement of migration laws in the USA when all of Latin America does the same to each other. You have migration laws that actually get enforced in countries where laws are usually just suggestions. Why can't the US have migration laws? Because our politicians want us to get conquered? They do not care about America, which is why more anti-American politicians are getting elected. It was more French versus Irish back then, but it was a mill town full of hard workers. It has rotted by today into a bunch of Section 8 ghettos. Yeah, that's another game that they like to play. When you had, like, French or Irish or German settlers who came here after the English or the Spanish settled, and they're just like, look, it's always been a town of immigrants. And it's like, well, not quite, but thank you, subversive agent of demons. They really did get a whole-ass biography of this guy ready in under 24 hours. Apparently this guy was the saint of Biddeford, and ICE just so happened to shoot him. What terrible luck! He wouldn't have had terrible luck if he had self-deported. A handful of pro-ICE and pro-Trump protesters demonstrated across the street. Some demonstrators had gathered in the city within hours of the shooting. Amy Goodman arrived with a sign that said, "Stop killing us." and directed it toward police working at the scene. Stop trying to run over the glowies with your car. Again, Terry Davis, you know, that's, I don't know, he's out here possessing people. Sadly, it's something we're seeing a whole lot more often lately, and I'm mad about it. Yes, I'm mad about it too, because you retards have been indoctrinated to throw your lives away. Instead of just being like, hello, officer, what is it you're trying to do? You don't just do that instead of running them over. What are we doing? Recent uptick in Trump's immigration crackdown, it hasn't gone far enough, bro. On July 7th, an ICE officer fatally shot 52-year-old Lorenzo Salgado Araujo of Houston after federal agents driving unmarked vehicles pursued him while he was taking his construction crew to a job site. He was here illegally for over 30 years. I don't give a fuck. He could have become a citizen. He could have deported himself. I don't give a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck. The shootings come amid a Trump administration push to carry out its mass deportation agenda. During the 5-day period at the end of June, ICE arrested more than 10,000 people. The figures indicate that while the administration is no longer cracking down on individual cities, the arrests are surging. Good, and they should be. The administration's enforcement efforts were widely condemned last winter after the killings of Alex Priddy and Renee Good in Minnesota. Don't try to hit ICE agent with your car. Don't try to resist arrest if the ICE agents are telling you to get the fuck out of their enforcement area. You can protest, you can stand on the sidewalks, you cannot intervene. That is where you become an active issue. Good, surge more. It's just like, I don't want people to get shot, but if you're going to play stupid games, you're going to win a stupid prize. I don't like talking about people getting shot. I don't want to see it happen. Just fucking deport yourself. Take your family with you. Care about your fucking lives more than trying to hold on to somewhere you shouldn't be. I don't care if you've been here for 15, 20, 30, 40 fucking years. That's more of an indictment of your parasitic mentality. You had so many decades to get your shit together, and you didn't! Because there's more benefits to being here illegally than becoming a fucking citizen. Yeah, deport yourself now. It takes time to educate and recruit people and get the infrastructure in place to handle them, so it makes sense it's slowly surging. It makes sense, and it's just like, I know there's tons of people who are like, oh, the numbers are going up, people should just be patient. It's like, I get it, I get being patient, but when we see this shit over and over again, it's incredibly frustrating. I don't want to see more people trying to become martyrs by trying to hit ICE with their car. I want to see the deportations happening. It's fucking crazy. They need to show these people the how to not get your ass beat by police by Chris Rock. True. You still laugh at Eustace video of rice and bananas where it had the Priddy situation. Too bad he wasn't brown. I still love that they had to edit Priddy's picture in order to make him look more like a perfect victim. If a Dem wins 2028, the deportations will stop and the re-education camps will go up. If you thought you had a fear of FEMA now, buddy, make whatever you came from great again. True and real. ICE had a significant presence in Maine earlier this year, which prompted several protests. Immigration officials later said in late January that they had ceased enhanced operations in Maine after hundreds of arrests. I'm so glad that, like, New Hampshire overall, like, cooperates with ICE. Holy shit. Like, it's like being wedged between 3 states that just want to let hordes run the states instead. It's like you're in enemy territory, buddy. Holy shit. A Homeland Security spokesperson said at the time that some Maine arrests were of people convicted of horrific crimes, including aggravated assault and endangering the welfare of a child. Court records show that while some had felony convictions, others had unresolved immigration proceedings or had been arrested but never convicted of a crime. I don't care! Their crime is being here illegally! They shouldn't have to commit more crime to get them out! That's insane! And unresolved immigration proceedings? You mean like they were told to get the fuck out and then they didn't? When they were actually renaming ICE to NICE? Hopefully. ICE arrested 546 people in Maine between the start of Trump's second term and March 11, 2026. The most recent data available, according to ICE arrest data provided to the University of California, Berkeley Deportation Data Project, I'm sure that's not going to be biased at all, and analyzed by the AP. About 45% of arrested people had criminal backgrounds. During the equivalent 416-day period before Trump took office, roughly 69% of those arrested had criminal backgrounds, the data shows. Why does this fucking matter? If you're here illegally, if you're here and committing fraud, get the fuck out. I don't care what level of criminality there is. Coming here illegally is already a criminal action. get the fuck out.
Pretty Picture was the first instance of media I'm aware of where someone hurriedly asked for emergency giga chat.
Emergency giga chat. Thank you, Arismador. Thank you. Thank you, my guy. Unresolved deportation proceedings equals never bothered to show up to court where they'd be told they had to leave. Pretty fucking much. It's very obnoxious that we keep having to see that. It's very obnoxious that, like, any kind of, hey, I would like to have a functioning country, gets misconstrued as like, this person's a racist, they just hate brown people. There's has nothing to do with their race. There's so many people getting deported for being disgusting. There's like British child rapists being deported, man. Like, you're actually fucking crazy. Yeah, image from today's ICE-involved shooting in Maine showed the bullet holes in the vehicle's window. Like, you can see them literally point blank in the front of the windshield. The officer was in front of this vehicle when he shot. I don't know where it is. I had some sort of tab dealing with, like, someone, I think it might have been the Tim Waltz thing, where he was just like, oh, deporting one child rapist won't make my state more safe, so we're not going to deport him.
In this case, I would state this, that I can find no reason how Minnesota will be safer or better if Mr. Vang is deported to a country he has not been to since he was a child.
And it's just like, it really makes you think that all of these politicians just endorse child rape. And again, it really makes you think with how long some of us have been talking about the end goal of saying children can consent to hormone therapies and surgeries that irrevocably change their sex and their ability to do things in the future as an adult. Saying that children can consent to that, the end goal of that is children can consent to sex. It does not make any sense to say children can consent to these irrevocable procedures that change their sexual organs, but cannot consent to actual sex itself. That is what is going to happen. That is the logical end goal of children can consent to these surgeries and these hormone treatments. The end goal is children can consent to sex. How do you continuously bombard people with this being okay? We have all of that propaganda trying to make sure that, oh, you're harming trans kids by not letting this happen. And then you have the judiciary and the politicians letting people go for child rape. If you no longer enforce the laws for child rapists and they get off with, like, either community service or nothing, and then you have the medical field saying children can consent and should consent to these things, because would you rather have an alive daughter or a dead son? Eventually, they're going to just come out with some sort of, well, now we're going to lower the age of consent, right? If you're 9 years old and you can get on hormone therapy, well, then a 9-year-old is mature enough to say that they want to have sex with someone. It's demonic and it's disgusting, and that is exactly where these kinds of things are headed. It's been happening since the 80s in gay communities, telling boys to run away from the bigoted houses and be groomed by them. Yep. Worst part is the left enjoys this and finds it funny. They enjoy it and find it funny because it's not usually their kids, right? Like, the left doesn't have a ton of children. It's mostly the right. They're going to indoctrinate the kids in school. And it's so just, fuck, man. It makes me upset. I hate thinking about how dark some of this shit is, dude. Should just make hormone therapy age-gated to 21. It's very obnoxious. You somehow doubt they would care if it was their kids? I mean, look at it, right? When you see, like, celebrities that have 2 or 3 trans kids, you're just like, that's not even possible, brother. Like, what are you doing? You don't think their kids wouldn't be safe because they wouldn't see their kids as a kid. They would see their kid like an accessory that they can use to push their politics. You don't blame the kids, but the wife and father, yes, they put their family in danger by coming somewhere illegally. Imagine if we were like actual countries and made our border a militarized zone. That's like, yeah, you can feel bad for the kids who are put in this position and are too young to understand what the fuck is going on. I don't feel bad for the kids who were brought here illegally and then grew up and stayed here illegally, you know? I don't feel bad for those, but if it's a young kid and their parents brought them here, yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad for the child. Their parents have subjected them to this. That doesn't mean I want them here. They should go back home. Deport that crying child. It's like, their parents did this. That's not my problem. I can feel bad for them and still say, I want my country to have laws and shit. If you separate the left-right, the former have a fertility rate of 1.1 and the latter of 2.4, if you recall. Right-wing America is above replacement rate, so the left has no choice but to subvert the children, or will simply outbreed them. That's also why one of the first things communists do is take over the educational institutions, you know, the Long March. They need to be able to indoctrinate the younger generations to be more radical than previously. And in addition, if your political others are outbreeding you, you need to especially be able to co-opt their children to your ideology. Hence why destroying the family and setting men and women at sword point towards each other is the end game. It's not even the end game, that's how they get to the end game. Katie saying, Eyewitness says the driver was told multiple times to stop by ICE agents. He then put the car in drive and drove at the ICE officer. There you have it. Direct Eyewitness confirms the suspect weaponized his vehicle.
I was driving through the intersection at Hill Street and Pool Street, and as I was approaching, you could see flashing blue lights, and then as I got closer, they were unmarked, so I assumed they were ICE, and then you could see them with their green vests and stuff, and it said police, ICE. And so as I actually was going through the intersection, I heard yelling. So I know I'm supposed to be paying attention, but I heard yelling off to my, so I looked and I was watching, and the ICE agent was yelling and drew his weapon, and he kept yelling and yelling and warning the person driving, which is when the car was put into drive and was trying to hit the ICE officer. And he fired, I would say, probably 4 shots at him. And then by that time, I was also through, you know, the intersection, so I just heard the popping, but I did see him draw his gun at the windshield. And then, so then the car, you could see the car in the back, like rolling down the street afterwards.
All right, interesting. And then Asmongold responded, you might wonder why left-leaning creators never advise to comply with police and not resist arrest. The answer is simple. They want ICE to kill more people. They might pretend to be sad, but they are actually happy because now they have another martyr for their narrative. And this is also why they accuse you of being happy when brown people are shot. No, we are not like you. You are a deranged freak. And have been saying this since the Renee Good shooting. They want more martyrs. They want this. They want to be able to push this and say, look at how violent the state is. Look at how violent these people will become. You need to rise up and be violent first. Based Witness, who wasn't a fent addict tweaking out from a 3rd floor window thinking he had super hearing, right? A very, very interesting thank you Eyewitness account.